There's no reason for Congress to not cut some of their frivolous spending out. There's no excuse for last year.
The UE political scientist Robert Kahane called you Hostetler in heels. What do you think about that?
That was at the end of the last campaign, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read that. I take it as a compliment.
You're an admirer of John Hostetler.
I'm a respecter of John Hostetler. Yes, I think John has used his efforts and energies since Congress to educate people and to alert the populace and to try to help people understand what's going on. I think for far too long, our elected officials have just kind of gone up there and, well, Larry even said it at the Second Amendment Patriots. He said, there's things that we know that you don't know. And I think for so long, Congress has operated like that, and the people do feel sometimes intimidated because they don't understand, what's going on. And so I think he's used his knowledge and resources wisely in these Constitution Institute classes that he's doing, because he's trying to help the people understand. When your congressman says we have to do it this way, you can say, I don't think so.
So what parts of government can we live without?
Oh, a lot. Department of Education, it's a state issue. Department of Energy, free market the capitalist market needs to be working to produce lower energy costs. There's a lot in government that we could do without.
What about defense?
That's probably where I differ. And we have a lot of support from a lot of different backgrounds of people in the whole district. And that's probably one of the areas where John and I are a lot alike, because I think we have to have a strong defense. I'm for a strong defense because I think the stronger your defense is, the less likely foreigners are to attack. But it's called the Department of Defense for a reason, and I think we need to be in the position to defend our nation. It's very important. That's why I'm so frustrated with everything that's going on the border. I mean, we need to be defending the border.
So if you're talking about being a supporter of across-the-board cuts a while ago.
Yes.
Those cuts would also have to affect defense if they're going across the board.
They would, but there's a lot of discretionary spending in defense. I mean, basketball courts and soccer courts at Guantanamo Bay. There's a lot of there's fraud and waste in everywhere, and so those kind of things we can cut out. That's a whole different bracket than having a missile and a strong defense system, because we have good military weapons.
As I said before, I follow your Twitter, and
Thank you.
I saw. Well,
I just got educated on Twitter and how important it is, so I've been really working hard on that.
Well, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about it, because following your tweets, and I went back and reviewed them this morning, I see a lot of tweets about oh my gosh, I can't believe the Obama administration's doing this, or I can't believe Congress is doing this, or I can't believe Larry Bucshon is doing this. What I don't see is, it's kind of and please don't take this the wrong way, but it seems like a very negative approach to a campaign. Tell me something that other than, I don't like Larry Bucshon, tell me why you think you should be in Congress.
Because I think I have the pulse of the people.
But what are your issues? What would you take to Congress to represent with us? I mean, he went up there and said, I'm going to fight for the health care, to reform health care. What would you do? What is your
agenda? Have you seen him introduce any legislation for it?
Okay. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about, that was his agenda. Whether he has fulfilled it or not is between us and him at a future date when we talk with him. What would your agenda be other than, I'm not Larry Bucshon?
Well, if you're talking about healthcare specifically, they talk, and I'm talking about the Republican Party when I say this, they talk about insurance, being able to buy insurance across the state borders. But I've seen nothing. I've not even seen any introduction of legislation that's been shot down for that they can say, well, the Senate, killed it, or the Senate didn't pick it up. Where's the legislation to start working on it? Where is the legislation from our representative to phase out pay and chase in Medicare and Medicaid? We pay all the time, and then we go chasing after it. Instead of reviewing those bills ahead of time, we pay it, and then we say, oh, we shouldn't have paid that, and we chase after it. Where is the reduction in double payments in Medicare and Medicaid? Where's the initiative?
So are these all things that you say you would do?
Yes, these are things that I'd be advocating for, absolutely. Where is his initiative then when he's reviewing the appropriation bills to introduce? Why was it Marsha Blackburn that entered the 1 in 5% cut instead of Larry Bucshon? Why was it?
Well, again, now we're getting back to why hasn't Bucshon done this?
Okay, but I would be doing those.
All right,
those are things that I would be
Let me ask it this
for.
way, then. Let me ask it this way, because I think we're getting off the track. what committees do you feel like you would want to serve on, that you feel like you could serve on, that you would bring something to the table for?
Agricultural, for one thing. I would like to be on the agricultural board.
Why?
Because I've been involved with Purdue, and I sat on the Pea Carrot board, and I have been involved in 4-H and the extension programs. I help, we've got lots of farmers. I've raised goats, and we've been part of the agricultural business ourselves. And so I think I understand the difference between, there's a difference between a small farm and the corporate farms. Everything in America seems to be gearing towards corporate. There's no real protection of small business. So if I was in Congress, my initiatives, my goals, my introductions of things are going to be to benefit individuals and small business, limiting government, reducing. You talk about what I would do. I would have stood against all that new voting for spending. I mean, I would not have done it. And then when people would have said, well, why didn't you do that? I would have said, because it has new spending. We're going to be at $19 trillion by the end of this year.
Well, what if the House Speaker says to you, look, if we can't count on you to keep the government going, our leadership team in the House doesn't really consider you a player. I was getting at that before. That you.
Then I'm going to say, you know what, John, listen, you need to get the pulse of the people across this nation. And if you will do the hard thing that has to be done, because if we don't do it now, we're going to look like Greece. And when we have austerity measures that we have to, there's going to come a point where they can either do it now where they can pick and choose what they want to cut, or they can wait until they don't have a choice and they got to cut everything because there's no money. And I would have been saying, you know what, John, listen, I got your back. Do the right thing. Do the right thing, and I'll be back in my district, and I'll be telling the people why we didn't raise the debt ceiling. I got your back. I'll make sure that my constituents know that this was the right thing for America.
You totally feel you could stand up to whatever pressure that they would bring for you to be. Okay.
I'm not afraid of any type of pressure. I'm running for office with everybody slamming me out of every corner saying, you're not a novice, you're not qualified, you're not political, you're not all these. I just don't listen to that. I know who I am, I'm confident in who I am, and I know what I believe in, and I'm not changing that.
As a fiscal conservative and with your interest in agriculture, what about farm subsidies? Is that something that...
You know what, I talk to farmers all the time. I have large farmers that are supporting our campaign, and all of them say, this is what I don't understand about Congress. The people get it. They realize we have to cut spending, and they realize that means they're going to have to take a cut themselves. The thing is that's why I said across the board cuts. So you don't pick winners and losers. You don't say, well, just the farm is going to get cut and not the oil or the subsidies. You cut them all.
I'm sorry, did you just say that you've talked to farmers who said they'd be willing to give up farm subsidies? Because my father-in-law's a farmer and he'd kill me if I asked him that.
Yeah, I have talked to farmers who have said, yes, they would be willing to give up portions of their farm subsidies. Absolutely, I sure have.
Not all
I can give you
farmers.
the name and number of one too, and you can call him and talk to him about it.
Okay.
Not
I
all
sure
the
will.
farmers that you've talked to say that, though.
No.
Yeah, some of them. You found that some do. Okay.
Yeah, but they cross the political lines too. Your more conservative farmers say, you know what, we know we've got to take a cut. But here's the thing, and this is what again the frustration is, that it's a web. It's all intertwined. So if you're going to cut their farm subsidies, then you better back government out of their life and out of their pocket. So you better reduce taxes, because you got to make up. If you're not going to give them a subsidy from government, then you better be doing something somewhere else so that they can keep more of their money, which is that's why I say it's such a tangled mess. And so if you're going to cut the subsidies, then you better be coming over here and reforming the tax code. That's why I'm for the fair tax, the flat tax, some kind of a tax where it's a consumption tax where you're paying based on your buying. Then everybody is paying a share. But as I say often, and I say it to Republicans, Democrats, and Tea Party, it doesn't make any difference who I talk to. You reform the tax code and do something fair like that, then what do people have to run on? They don't have anything to promise everybody, and that's just honesty. That's just the truth. You have a really good tax system, what am I going to promise to you or the corporations or that's how they get in office. They make all these promises. Why not just do what's right?
Yeah. Well, what do you think about Mitt Romney? He obviously is going to be the Republican candidate now.
I mean, anybody but Obama.
Would he have been your first choice?
No, he probably wouldn't have been my first choice, but it doesn't make any difference. I just want any president other than President Obama. So it doesn't make any difference who comes out of that primary, I'll support him.
Did Santorum getting out of the race affect your campaign? Did you
I don't think
expect
so.
support from Santorum voters who may not go to the polls?
I don't tag onto other campaigns. My campaign is my campaign. When I'm knocking on doors, I'm knocking on doors for Christy Risk. When I'm calling, I call for Christy Risk. I don't tag on local campaigns, I don't tag on state campaigns or federal campaigns. I mean, we have people that like every presidential candidate out there working for our campaign. I hope it didn't.
I don't think, and I see where you're coming from, and I think in some states it might affect, you know, a more independent or Tea Party or, you know, more conservative candidate now that the presidential candidate that is like-minded is not there. But, you know, in the state of Indiana, we have the wonderful Murdoch-Lugar race that's going to get all of those conservatives out to vote. So I don't think it'll affect it at all.
I think the 8th district is just different too. People here are just more independent. Hopefully we've knocked on enough of those doors, even if they were, you know, Kane, Santorum, or any of those candidates have gotten out, we've knocked on those doors and touched them. And so regardless of whether their presidential pick was in there or not, their representative pick is in there, and so they'll be voting.
Did you say you're working from a voter list when you do that door knocking?
Mm-hmm.
Of Republican primary voters?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. But we don't always just stick to the list. We'll be right, sometimes we're just driving down, somebody's out in the yard, and we stop in and talk to them. Had a very lively conversation yesterday.
How effective do you feel like you could be as a freshman member of Congress? And again, this is, it's going to come off as a very negative question, but how effective do you feel like you could be as a freshman member of Congress who's not willing to, for want of a better term, willing to play ball with the Republican leadership? I mean, how are you going to be able to help the people of the 8th district? You know, you can go up there and say, we in the 8th district don't like additional spending, but, you know, we also
don't hit the table with your fist.
We also have bridges that we'd like to get built here to build I-69 and connect to Kentucky. That's something we want our congressional delegation, or the
Sure.
is they want the congressional delegation to fight for. How do you feel like you could be effective in doing the things that the people in the 8th district want brought back to the 8th district, while at the same time saying, well, you know what, I'm not going to play ball with John Boehner or the president or the House or the Senate leadership?
Well, I didn't say that, you said that.
Now, you said you would tell John Boehner that, damn it, you need to cut the
I didn't say that, I never cussed.
Well, you said you told John Boehner that, you know, you need to cut the spending and I will have your back.
That's
and
right.
we will not spend any new money. So, but if that's the
But if John Boehner feels like he's getting the support of the American people through my candidacy or my position
what
as a
if he
congresswoman,
says he feels he has the support of the American people and it doesn't agree with what you're saying? That's what I'm asking you.
He knows
the
that's not
Republican
true.
leadership.
If that
but
were true, then all
but
these
if
new
the
people
Republican
would be
leadership
keeping
says
going.
this is where we're going, and Christy Risk is over here on the outside looking in, how can you be an effective representative for the 8th district and bring things to the 8th district to represent what we're saying if you won't play with the other Republicans well, play well with the others?
So what you're basically telling me is that I need to sell out.
No, I'm asking you, how do you feel like you could work for us? You know, how could you represent the 8th district?
Well,
if
first
you're
of
not
all, you don't
representing-
go up there and hit your fist on the table and tell people that. You go up and you have a casual conversation and you say, listen, here's the temperature of the people in my district. This is what they're seeking. This is what I want to do for them. This is what I'm going to do for them. I'm going to work as much with you as I can, but I'm not going to go against the Constitution or my people in my district. See, Larry has gone against his people, and Larry has a challenger that's got a lot of support. That's going to speak volumes to John Boehner. Do you think that if I beat Larry, that John Boehner's not going to take notice of that? Sure he is. He's campaigned and fundraised for him, and then I come along and beat his incumbent. He's going to know that if I beat John Boehner, obviously she's got some pull in the district. He's going to want that pull.
You're saying that he would be then maybe willing to give you a pass on some things that,
Yes.
that when you tell him, look, I've got to do this for my district.
Yes. I think a lot of it is how you talk to people, first of all. I think John Boehner, one of the first things I'm going to let him know is, you know, I respect him. I have a lot of respect for him. I appreciate his efforts and what he's doing. But listen, you know, Just because somebody's doing, you know, things a certain direction, do we just go along with it because it's just a little bit hard to fight against that? No. So maybe nobody has taken the time to sit down and say, look, let's work this plan a different way. I don't see a whole lot of the resources being used. Newspapers, why isn't there an article once a month in the newspapers that is explaining to the constituents what's going on? Town halls, Larry holds them in Linton. Linton's a Democrat stronghold. He's held 2 or 3 of them there, same spot every time, and there's like 10 people. Half of them are mine that show up to his town hall. Same thing with Rockville. I love Rockville. It's a beautiful county. I got a lot of friends there. But why are you having a town hall there instead of Terre Haute or Evansville or Newburgh in his own county? I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can do things that can be more effective that our Republican leadership is not utilizing. The internet, YouTube, those different things. Phone conferences with people. People want to be involved. They want to know what's going on. Contrary to what the media or Larry or the Republican establishment says, I've knocked on thousands of doors and talked to people. I know what they want. I know what I want. That's why I got into the race. And I think that if we can use the 8th district as the catalyst to exemplify what a representative can be without breaking principle, still getting things done, and helping the leadership in Washington begin to change that course, and that's what the path the 8th district needs to be seeking, because we need to be the leaders. I love this district. I love the people in this district. We have some of the best, we have such bright and intelligent people in this district. Why isn't Larry seeking them? If you watch the debate, his thing was, so am I supposed to ask the people, you know, of America, or should I listen to the insiders in Washington from Bush's administration who know what's going on? Does he not realize the resources we have in this district and people and the wisdom and the knowledge? We could do a lot in Washington just by utilizing what we have right here in the 8th district.
Was there ever talk about debating, Larry?
Oh, several times. In Lincoln Day dinner in Owen County last year, the Republican chairman asked Larry if the Republicans up that way set up a debate, would he debate me? He was like, no way. And then the Tea Party, I was there the day that I saw them hand him a letter asking him to do a debate. If the Tea Parties would set it up, no way. So we finally got one over in Terre Haute.
That was the Wabash Valley Tea Party thing?
I mean,
Have you done any polling? Seen any polls? The race?
Larry has, but he hasn't released the results. We did some internal polling, but we haven't done anything.
What about the Obama administration's handling of homegrown terrorism? Are you convinced that enough is being done to ferret out cells of terrorist groups that may be setting up here in the U.S.? Is that issue on your radar screen?
Oh, it is, because my husband's a reserve police officer. And so I think they're going about it the wrong way. I think they're trying to set up so many rules and regulations, and really a lot of it's just common sense. And I know it would just be really, really negative. If I say it's off the record, does it not get printed?
We can't go off
You're on the
record
record.
here.
Oh, on the record. Okay. No, anyways. No, seriously. You know, there are, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck, right? We have kept we have strapped our police departments and our you know, can't think of the term that I'm wanting to use, but our services that protect the people, and it's not just police department, I just can't think of something at my time. But anyway, we have strapped our
Law enforcement?
yes, thank you. I couldn't get that out. Our law enforcement to where if they suspect someone as, you know, a criminal or a terrorist, then they're wrong because they've profiled. Even though they have been trained and they have arrested, you know, numbers of people, and they understand what I said about, you know, looking like a duck and walking like a duck could be a potential criminal. They get in trouble if they don't, if they had even a hint of anything other than concrete hard evidence.
Doesn't that go along with innocent until proven guilty, though?
Well, no, not really. Innocent till
An
proven
American
guilty is
citizen is innocent till proven guilty?
Absolutely. Well, then hang on a second. You said does that go along with it? The policeman's responsibility is to arrest. Then the person's responsibility and the judge's responsibility is that innocent till proven guilty. So what I'm talking about is when a police officer sees someone that they, okay, so for example, my husband in my situation, he sees someone going around a building and thinks that they might be breaking in. If he goes and stops and asks them a question, guess who gets in trouble if that person was doing something innocent? He's just asking a question. I'm not talking about, you know, full-fledged arresting. I'm just talking about the ability to go and ask someone, hey, what are you doing walking around this building? Well, as soon as he asked that question and that person was doing something innocent, guess who gets in trouble?
And where is it that he can't ask that question?
Yeah, I would think neither one would get in trouble. If he's a reserve officer doing his job, that's within the scope of his rights.
It is within the scope of the rights, but then what happens is that person turns around and files a lawsuit. And then
Has this happened?
it,
Or is this
not to him,
hypothetical?
it's hypothetical. It has happened, but not to David specifically. What I'm saying though is in our society, everybody is too happy. So when you put somebody in a position to question anybody, if they don't have concrete hard evidence, hey, that your hand was on that door, or you know you were breaking in the window, or there's that concrete evidence, just the suggestion of it, it turns around and that person wants to file a lawsuit.
So you think that?
I just think we've lost a lot of common sense, and we've tried to regulate everything down to the T, to where if you don't fall within that specific, those rules that are listed, then you become the bad person. I hear it from cops. I've talked to them, so
Should they be allowed to profile people?
I think they should be allowed to use their training to the best of their ability.
You were saying that there still ought to be a reason for them, or that just the appearance of somebody in a neighborhood perhaps would be enough to.
Now, I'm not saying they can arrest them. What I'm saying is they can question them. But it seems like so often when those police officers go up and question someone, then they turn it around and they'll be saying, you know what, that person was harassing me. That has happened several times. So the cop goes up and says, hey, you know, what are you doing down here? It's 11 o'clock, you're supposed to be home. Well, I'm just walking to my mom's house. They get home, they tell their mother, you know, that police officer was harassing me. Next thing you know, the police officers are on the defense in the chief's office, and the chief is saying, you know, why were you harassing? And they were just doing their job. And what it does is it creates an atmosphere of people being concerned that if I go out a step one little bit, then I'm the one that's going to be on the defense.
You talked a little bit earlier about agriculture and you know how you feel like that would be something you'd be interested in working on. What other challenges do you see that the 8th District has, or opportunities the 8th District has, that you would like to take to Washington and show them that here's what we need, or here's what we can do for the country?
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, we're a coal district, so I think one of the things that Larry should have been doing, and I would be doing,
Thank you.
is fighting back against the EPA. The EPA it's an unrestricted bureaucracy. We've been phone banking and calling people and talking to them, and a lot of people aren't even familiar with the EPA. So we explain to them what they are, what they do, and it outrages people because they don't have any oversight. They write their laws, they enforce their laws, they you know, come in and they fine you for whatever their laws are that they've created. And so I think that that's probably, when I have talked to, and I've been up and talked to one board of one coal company, and I've talked to another gentleman who operates a services that has to put everything back in place after the coal companies are done. All of them, even business owners, are talking about the EPA and how they're constantly putting more burdens upon, you know, our citizens and upon our businesses. I think that's probably one of the biggest areas of concern that I have for our district, because we are a coal district.
Would you legislate to eliminate the EPA?
I think there's a need for oversight, but not there. I think we need to let the states, each state, run their environmental. I mean, the states want to protect their environment.
Pollution doesn't respect borders. You know,
No.
coal dust and you know, sulfur dioxide emitted by power plants in Indiana affects New York State. So how, you know, what if we tear down the EPA and split that up among the states, then who is responsible for the health of the United States? Or are we? Or is this something we just gamble with and say, you're on your own?
Do you not think that our state legislatures want healthy states? They want to bring business here, they want people to move here. We are too dependent on the federal government. The states want employment. They want jobs for their people. They want healthy environments. You know, years ago when the expansion was taking place in the Industrial Revolution, yeah, you may have had greater concerns because people weren't made aware. People are aware of the dangers now. State legislation is aware of the dangers of, you know, protecting the environment now. I think our states would do a much better job ensuring that our state is an environment-friendly state for business and for their residents than the federal government ever will.
So I missed it. Did you say you would support legislation to get rid of the federal EPA?
Yes, you do. I sure do. I think that our states, you know, our state legislatures are closest to the people. They're closest to the business in their districts or in their state. They're going to hear it. They're going to hear from their people in the state who are talking to them and explaining to them what they need and what the state legislation is going to hear from the citizens, what they don't want, and they'll take care to protect that. We don't give our state legislatures enough credit. We give our federal government way too much.
Anybody? Thank you for taking so much of your time and
Well, I
answering all
appreciate
of
the
our
opportunity.
easy and difficult questions. We
Yeah, they-
appreciate that.
No, it's good. I appreciate it, but it's like this. I don't come in here with politically prepared statements. So what you heard is what I would say to anybody anywhere because it's just my heart. I mean, that's just who I am, and I don't have to worry about what you print. As long as you print what I say, I don't have to worry about somebody's going to call you and say this because I would have told them the same thing anyways. That's just who I am. That's where I feel.
You can be at the Right to Life event
I
tonight.
will.
What is your, other than to show support for their cause, you're going into, I mean, it's an opportunity to meet people, you'll be talking about that issue. Somebody says to you, Indiana Right to Life is behind Larry, why shouldn't we get behind him on this one issue that is very important in our district to a lot of people? How do you reply to that? I'm just curious.
Well, I've not had to face it, to be honest, but when people do say that, I just say, well, I guess it just depends on what your level of right to life is. If your level of right to life is up to the point of, you know, rape, incest, and the life of the mother, then Larry's got your endorsement. But if you're, and a lot of right to lifers are stronger in the right to life. Now, I went through it personally, so I know there's a reason why I'm right to life. I don't just do it because it's a cliche thing to do. I experienced that, and we had a very interesting experience at Vincennes University just recently. So, where I'm pretty sure that as a result of our campaign, we saved the life of a baby that was possibly.
I'm sorry, you say you went through that. I'm sorry, this is a very personal question. You went through what?
Oh, when I was pregnant with my daughter, my first child, they told me that she probably would have birth defects, and so we were young parents and we did all the testing and they came back saying she's probably got Downs or spina bifida, so we had an amnio. When they did the amniocentesis, then it showed that she had birth abnormalities and defects, and so we were actually approached at that time. It wasn't my doctor, it was her partner because she was out of town, and they said to us, you know, if abortion's an option, yeah, this would be your window of doing that, and of course we didn't believe in that, and so we didn't. And she was born with microtia, so she doesn't have a right ear, and her right side of her jaw is off, you know, center. But other than that, she's perfect. So, and I just wonder how many parents have been told that.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So.
Good.
Well, I appreciate very much,
Thank you,
Dr.
Tom.
And I appreciate the tough questions, and you know, you're welcome to answer me further. And so, you're going to be meeting with Larry?
Yes.